Sorry, y'all. That was my thumb impression. It's pretty good. Alright, I want to address some things. I just woke up. I ain't showered yet. I literally just rolled out of bed, started checking my messages. You know, there's a lot of argumentation going on right now that one of the reasons we have mental health issues is because people aren't medicated enough. No, listen. I agree that in certain senses, medical solutions like pharmaceuticals can provide a temporary anodyne, but I think that's wrong too. I don't think you should ever use booze, weed, cocaine, SSRI inhibitors, hallucinogens, or any drug, whatever, including cigarettes, as a means of assuaging your emotional status, because that becomes something you must necessarily depend on to function at a baseline level. It's like working out. If you work out a lot, you're going to build muscles. If you do a lot of drugs, you're going to build a tolerance to them. Now, I'm not saying that things like alcohol and smokes and the occasional use of a substance are barred. That's not scriptural. In the Bible, Jesus drank booze, actual alcohol, and he made it too. And you know what he said? He said when they had the Last Supper, he said, I shall not drink of the fruit of the vine again until I have it anew in my Father's kingdom. In the book of Acts, it says the disciples, they thought they were drunk on new wine. So that tumbles a couple of ideas. The Baptists say that, oh, well, when they did the Last Supper, they were drinking grape juice. That's what new wine is. How do you get drunk on grape juice? Is the Bible contradicting itself? No, it's not. The truth is, God made booze, and as C.S. Lewis put it, Christianity is not the teetotaling religion. He said it was Mohammedanism. That's how they said Islam back in the 30s or 40s. It was the Mohammedans, which I think is very funny. But yeah, so now it does say in Scripture, don't be a drunk, but it doesn't say not to drink. What it says is everything in moderation and balance. So the key here, Paul even tells I think it's Timothy or somebody's got a stomach issue. He says, drink a glass of wine a day. Don't get drunk. Have one glass of wine, not one that's big, you know, just a normal glass of wine. So point being, A, Scripture does not condemn use of substances. B, Scripture does condemn overuse or reliance upon them, because C, or 3, P.O., that's a box that you can mail things to. It's a C3PO box at Lucasfilm Ranch. Anyway, C, moderation in all things. Balance is key, you know. So don't do too much. It's okay to do too little. Just don't let it control you. So that's a digression. I want to tackle SSRI inhibitors from two perspectives. One, the deep time uniformitarian evolutionary ideal. Two, the Christian ideal. One, deep time evolutionary ideal. According to the deep time evolutionary uniformitarian thinkers who believe that human development went from goo to you by way of the zoo, you know, we started as simple organisms that gradually developed in terms of complexity over millions of years through random mutation, sometimes not even random, but certainly not guided by any intelligent force. Even though at a genetic level, the most basic organisms are more complex than anything mankind has deliberately designed with concerted effort and budgets. It just happened randomly. Okay, but let's take that. Pardon me, y'all. I'm driving here. Let's take that fallacious assumption as a given. Okay. So we evolved for millions of years to live naturally in our environment, and now suddenly we can't exist without SSRI reuptake inhibitors, and it's a stigma that requires us to more carefully administer pharmaceuticals so that more people are on them in order to reach our balance in the world. I call BS. From the Christian perspective, God didn't create us to be reliant on the products which develop from pharmaceutical companies trying to make their nut every month. That's a squirrel term, y'all nasty-minded people. It's ridiculous. Listen, psychiatry and psychology have made some discoveries that are valid, but for the most part, it's a pseudoscience based in looking at human beings as mechanistic output, as evolutionary developments in a universe that is unguided, exists for reasons people don't understand, and is winding to a ultimate heat death after entropy takes its full course. The majority of psychiatry and psychology is about vindicating the known psychoses of the practitioners of the field. Okay, Freud was turned on by his mom, all right? Jung liked to sleep with his patients. Okay, Freud and Jung both made valid contributions to the field. I'm more Jungian than Freudian, okay? But both were totally out of left field and wrong in a lot of areas. Modern psychology and psychiatry isn't much different. Check out Mel Brooks, the Jewish dude. He made a movie called High Anxiety that was parodying Alfred Hitchcock, but on a more cerebral level, it was making a social commentary on how the people who administer mental medicine are often more mentally screwed up than the patients that they're trying to care for. Also, every teenage girl, every post-high school grad who doesn't know what she wants to do with herself, I'm gonna study psychology because I wonder why I'm such a hoe. That's basically, in a nutshell, what's going on. You really want to understand your mind? I will lead you to 4 resources. Fyodor Dostoevsky, numero uno, nomor один, по-русски. Fyodor Dostoevsky was a man who originally was a leftist anti-czarist agitator, got caught in a plot. Instead of killing him because, you know, the czarist knew you can't be killing all these young men, you got to try and get them to change their mind somehow. He sent the son of a gun off to Siberia with all the other intransigents, and Fyodor Dostoevsky had a change of heart, became Christian, and all his writing is about presenting reality in a reasoned way to those who despise Christianity, but giving them the truth in such a way that they must consider it as a real alternative. It's not existential at all. If you know Dostoevsky, if you read it, if you know a little bit of Russian, you know it's not existential. The people who think that can't get over the fact that this guy's such a good writer and he's a Christian. That's basically what it is. Number 1. Number 2, George MacDonald from Scotland. Similar to Dostoevsky, he got into the heads of the characters he wrote. That's the thing I meant to say about Dostoevsky. He really got into the heads of people so that he ended up really showing the way people put thoughts together and turn those thoughts into action. He showed what drove people. And George MacDonald does the same thing very, very well in an entertaining way that turns the common reality we all experience into a sort of magical secondary world setting, even though it's not. He's a master at this. Both C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, who are resource number 3 together, took many cues from George MacDonald, and George MacDonald did write fantasies. He wrote about half a dozen decent little fantasy books, but he also wrote a good number of what are called the Victorian novels. Sorry, that was a gal in a white pickup. Thought it was a cop. It wasn't. Probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm almost to the gym. Anyway, he wrote a number of Victorian novels that are very good. If you can find George MacDonald, read him. There's a guy named Michael Phillips who cut out the Scotch patois because George MacDonald liked to write Scottish dialects, much like Mark Twain did for books like Huck Finn. Actually, George MacDonald knew Mark Twain, and Mark Twain knew George MacDonald, and they were contemporaries. Now, I do not agree with every theological perspective as presented by George MacDonald, but I think he had some good things to say. I said C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. We are more familiar with them. Those are the guys who wrote Narnia and Middle-earth and The Lord of the Rings. And last but certainly not least, the Bible! If you really want to learn how people think, what drives them, read the Bible. In fact, read Proverbs on a daily basis, the chapter conforming to the day of the week if you like, or you can read multiple Proverbs and think about each one and try and think where you've seen that in the real world. And I guarantee you it will give you insights into life. But you know what's going to waste your time and get you high on a bunch of SSRI inhibitors that send you into a mass shooting because you had a bad day and didn't have the emotional capacity to deal with it? Trusting modern psychology. That's my opinion. I'm not a Scientologist, though they did get me with that documentary about pharmaceuticals. There's a documentary about pharmaceuticals by Scientologists. It's 3 hours long. You're like, wow, the pharmaceutical industry is evil. And then it's like, the Church of Scientology. You're like, ah, shit, I've been punked. All right, anyway, God bless y'all. Goodbye.